We're recording.
We are recording, which that is that's
Celebrate the small successes.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Maybe you should celebrate.
Perfectly adequate.
Perfectly adequate. That's what we're aiming for here. Welcome to A Spirited Life. I'm Mark.
I'm Christine.
And this week we're going to be talking about where we've been. What have we been up to for the last couple of weeks and why we haven't posted anything?
Our whiskey of the week is going to be a whiskey that we have trouble finding around here, so we have to look for it while we're out and about. We're also going to talk about what filled our spirit this week.
We want to live a spirited life. We're documenting our journey towards financial independence while balancing that with living in the present and enjoying our time in the journey. While we want to work towards financial independence, there's no guarantee for what tomorrow will bring. So we don't want to wait to enjoy our lives because tomorrow isn't promised. We want to share our journey to help keep ourselves intentional and accountable, and we invite you to come along with us as we work towards living a spirited life. Every week we like to pick a whiskey that goes along with our theme of the week, and one of the things that was happening with us over the past several weeks, we've been doing a little bit of traveling, and oftentimes we look for whiskeys when we're traveling that we're not able to more easily find here where we live, and Pikesville Rye is one of those whiskeys that is a little bit more difficult to find.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I had this, and it was incredibly tasty, and I looked at you and said, hey, can we get more of this? And you said, it's not that easy.
Yeah. And so this is one of those things where when we go to other states sometimes and visit, this in those other states sits on the shelves and is readily available for a very reasonable price, often somewhere in like the $50 neighborhood, where here in our neck of the woods, if this hits the shelf at all, because it's not bought up the day that it actually hits the stores, usually it's gone easily within a day or two. So trying to pick this up and get this while we're out and about, while we're traveling, makes it a lot easier for us to be able to enjoy it. Pikesville is a Maryland rye, and it is 110 proof. It is made by the Heaven Hill Distilling Company, and it is a very interesting rye overall. I think it's closer to a barely legal rye in terms of like the overall experience and things like that. I don't remember the mash bill off the top of my head. We can take a look.
And it's been quite a while since I drank it because you gave me the warning we can't get it very easily.
Mm-hmm.
That it's almost like I'm coming back to a new thing.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually it's a 6-year product. That's interesting. I didn't even realize that, but it says this whiskey is aged at least 6 years. So I did not realize that this is actually an age-stated product. Interesting. So with that,
it smells super minty.
Does have quite a bit.
Minty.
Does have quite a bit of mintiness on it. That is pretty nice. It does come across to me. It's definitely a rye.
Yeah, it does have that rye oomph to it.
Yeah. A little bit of mintiness, yeah. A little bit of sweetness in that mintiness.
Yeah. Like candied sweetness, like a candied.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's like the how some ryes get the candy ribbon that have the almost like the black licorice or anise type flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's that sweetness that you get on that type of ribbon candy, and just a little hint of that, like
balanced with the spearminty mintiness.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, and now that I sip it, it does come across a little bit closer to like a bourbon.
It does.
In terms of like just overall experience on the palate and everything like that.
I am getting that black licorice.
There is a little bit of that
tint to it. Not like super kick you in the face, but like if you had a multi-layered candy and one of the thin layers was the black licorice taste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. Definitely not as strong as like, what are those things? Good and Plenty's, which are basically just black licorice wrapped in like a sugar shell.
No wonder why I don't like them, and I've never eaten them.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I don't like black licorice, but I don't mind it in my whiskey.
Yeah, but you don't mind it when it's this.
No.
Right? But when it's like the straight up black licorice or anything like that, you're like, no. The 110 proof definitely does come through on the nose and on the palate. It does have quite a bit of spiciness. There is quite a bit of good baking spices on this too, overall. So a very kind of excited mouth experience in terms of both proof heat and the spiciness that's coming from the whiskey.
I was gonna say, yeah, it hits my palate, sits around on my palate, like front, mid, and then slowly makes its way down, and then then the burn comes in later. But it lingers quite a bit.
Yeah, the finish does hang out for quite a long time. On that last sip that I just took, the flavor's still going. And it's just kind of rounding out right now. So that's a pretty long finish overall. Nice experience. Good overall. Nice to come back to it. Definitely is, has some of the rye characteristics and things like that, but does get a few of the bourbon notes, a little bit of the caramel, a little bit of just
Vanilla-y.
like a slight hint of vanilla. Yeah.
Caramel, vanilla. Yeah, I would say coming back to this after not drinking it for a while, I forgot how sweet it was and how much I've then moved on from my enjoyment of like 95.5 ryes, like the heavy vegetal ryes, to see how incredibly light and sweet this is.
Yeah.
Is something I forgot. So. Meow. Make an appearance.
I gotcha. Time for you to make a cameo.
You will suffer my love.
Oh, yes. You're going to get love. Oh, yes.
Amos is like, I will totally come
hello.
downstairs and get love.
Hello. Yes. This is our kitty.
The
Her
gremlin.
name is Emmer.
She is a 2 a.m. gremlin.
Yes. She is a 2 a.m. gremlin who loves to try to get attention from us at 2 a.m. and when we're recording.
But don't touch me too much.
Yes, but she very much does not like to be touched too much or have too much love. She wants just the right amount of love, which is just a little bit, and then she's got to go.
And it's always on her terms.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, sometimes I'll be sleeping and she'll be like, love me, and I'll ignore her, and she's like, oh, your foot's sticking out? Love you. And I'm like, oh, God!
Yes, and the other thing that she does, which some cats like to do is that they like to give love nips or love bites.
Oh, she's a rough gal.
She is a rough gal when it comes to her love bites. She will draw blood with her
all love.
with her love bites because that's how much she loves. So overall, great experience. Highly recommended. If you see this bottle and you haven't had it before and you do enjoy rye, definitely recommend picking it up. The will certainly stand up proof-wise, will certainly stand up flavor-wise.
Yes.
As a mixer, things like that, but not
I never thought of mixing it.
overly expensive in terms of still something that's reasonable to mix at $50 for a 110 proof pour. So
Now I'm thinking about mixing it.
yeah, I think it would stand up really well. I think actually, where it might work really well is even just in a basic highball. I think it might work pretty well.
I was
Probably
thinking
be
about
pretty good.
heated, like what it'd be like in hot cider. I don't think it would go well with my ginger ale. I feel like it'd be too sweet for a ginger ale,
Okay.
in my opinion. I'm very picky about my ginger ale whiskey combos.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would go good in like a cider, like a warm cider.
I could see that. I could see this, and I think we used to consider this more of a fall type rye. That where and when we would have it.
Yeah.
And so I think that as a pairing with cider or something like that, probably be pretty good. It was a really good pour.
It is.
I'm glad we were able to find some more while we were out
I get
traveling.
cinnamon. Like there's a lot. I guess you said baking spices earlier. But I'm just getting it all now. There's like a lot to it.
Yeah, so really glad that we were able to pick up another bottle of that as a backup while we were out traveling because we do enjoy that so much. And that is one of the things that we were doing over the last several weeks while we haven't been producing anything. So let's get into that. Let's talk a little bit about where we've been and what we've been doing. Originally, we were going to talk about some learnings that we had from what I've been doing, an experiment on myself, which I will summarize that super quickly for those of you who might be interested. And basically what it boils down to is Mark confirmed the fact that he does need to actually spend more time and more intention on actually setting up a routine for himself. And when he does that, he's more successful. And that's really what it boils down to. And I discovered that over the course of several weeks as I tried different degrees of scheduling and different degrees of routines and different degrees of figuring things out in terms of how much specificity. And really what it boiled down to was the more specificity that I gave for myself as far as for the planning for the week, usually the better off that I did. So, which is unfortunate because in a lot of cases, I don't really like doing that. I don't really enjoy doing that. But if I want to be able to be successful in my goals and I want to be able to accomplish some of those things and I want to be accomplishing more of those goals on a more consistent basis, I do have to at least apply some amount or some modicum of routine and specificity to my week at the beginning of each week. So that's the really, really short version of that. As we're getting ready to do that podcast, we got sick. We got the COVIDs.
We did get the COVIDs.
Yeah. So that took us down. And then you also had a few other things that came up.
Yep. So we got the COVIDs, and then I had a physical that did all these blood tests and all these things that I thought were normal apparently aren't normal. Yeah. So now I'm on medicine for some of my stuff that seemed to be helping tremendously. And then I got new things that surprised me.
Hooray.
Yay. That I am in the process of getting figured out. So hopefully my body will stop rebelling against me and everything will work in harmony.
Yeah. And I think that maybe the most important thing to highlight there is like, does it suck about the fact that, hey, there's some stuff that's kind of out of whack that you're trying to help get back into maybe a closer degree of what you've experienced previously or what you consider to be normal? Yeah, that kind of sucks. But you went to the doctor, you got the information, and because you got that information, you're now able to do something about it. Where before, without that information, really...
I just assumed it was normal.
Right. You assumed that was kind of your new normal.
Yeah.
And now with that information, you're able to formulate a plan. You're able to start taking some action. You're able to start doing something differently. Maybe start seeing some of the things you'd rather see.
Which is good. I just played off a lot of things were a normal new phase in my life. And I was just going to have to deal with them. But so now going to the doctor, getting like my normal, like an in-depth annual physical, and finding out, some things were out of whack. And now getting them back into whack and seeing the change, like, all of a sudden I have energy. Like, I don't just work now. I could be like, oh, I could go do something and I don't hurt all the time over here. Or all these different little things that I just thought I was just going to have to figure out how to manage, just to find out that, no, actually something is slightly wrong. It isn't just something that you have to deal with. So it's been nice. It's actually been nice. Like, adjusting to it has been tricky because I have to make some adjustments, which is always tricky, but overall it's been like a world of difference. Yeah.
And you're taking action on it, and that's the most important thing is being able to say, okay, I am taking some action. We're starting to get a little bit more learning. We're seeing how, as I take this action, how does it help shape things up, or how does it improve or not improve things? And then continuing to kind of iterate through that. And I'm sure that you'll have a few more cycles of that to kind of help get that dialed in. But you know that you're going in the right direction towards what you're really looking for, which is great.
Yeah. Which is good too, and knowing people and knowing what it is, and people knowing that it's going to be something that's going to be like ebb and flow.
So that was kind of week one of where we disappeared to was a variety of little bit of health issues and things like that. And let's be frank, we're not professional podcasters or content creators the way that other people are, where they would probably have like a backlog of things that they've already worked on, that they would already have stuff ready to do. No, we just do this week in and week out. And so, hey, if we get it done, we get it done. And if we don't, we don't. And guess what? We didn't.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, we started off, though, we had friends in town.
Yes. So it actually, right before that, we had friends who came to visit. So it was nice to see Shayla and Bernie. Yep. And get an opportunity to spend some time with them. We were able to be tourists in our own city with them, which was fun. Yeah. Yeah. Went to visit the West Side Market. Went to see the Christmas Story House.
North Coast Harbor.
Went to North Coast Harbor. Got a chance to see some of the ships in the lake down there, the lighthouse. And we went to go see a little local park called Squires Castle. That's right by us. And
hung out on the patio, ate pierogies, lived our best Eastern European descendant life.
Yeah. and got a chance to make breakfast for them the next day, and then help them get off on their way. And then y'all went down. I didn't go down, but you went down with them down to other parts of Ohio just to visit other folks for the rest of the weekend. Yeah.
Just fun, and I was completely and utterly exhausted.
Then after that, we got sick. So we were sick during the following week after that. So we spent the next week recovering, and then we had to make sure that we were recovering relatively quickly because then we were going to be traveling
to Iowa.
And so we had a little trip over to Iowa to hang out with about 20 some of our friends at Cat's Eye Distillery, which was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was a road trip. We drove there, which was about 8-ish hours or so, which I don't think was so bad. A few storms, a few traffic, but overall it was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was a relatively easy drive. It went pretty quick overall. We drove out there on Thursday. We helped do some setup on Friday, and then we went and we did the hangout on Friday, which was a lot of fun.
It was fun because we got to see people that we knew that we met in person already, and then actually got to meet some people in person that we've just talked with through the community. Yeah. So which was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I really appreciated how the event was a smaller event in terms of, only having maybe a total of, I think, about 30 people, like including all the people from Cat's Eye, including David and Kira, everything like that. And everybody who was there in attendance. I think there was about 30 of us in total. So nice size, just in terms of relatively intimate. You can get to talk with everybody, kind of get to know who everybody is and everything like that. It's very different than some of the larger events that we go to where they have, hundreds of people or in some cases even thousands of people. It's just it's a different experience overall. And I think while I don't begrudge one or the other, I think that they have their pros and cons for each one of them. It's just being able to appreciate what you like about each one of them.
Yeah. So as you were talking about, again, the small size of meetups versus large size events, it brought back to my mind what we were talking about in like February when we went down to the whiskey winter warm up Cheech's event in Florida, where it was about the same size crowd ish, but a little bit different vibe and energy and personality because, it's labeled nerds and turds. Like the community that was coming are energetic, crazy, goofy, insane. Yeah. In all the good ways. A little bit
more shenanigans.
A lot of shenanigans. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
A little bit more shenanigans that were happening at the event in Iowa as opposed to the event in St. Augustine in February.
Which was fun. We had cornhole, and then we had cornhole announcer, play-by-play. Yep. Then there were games that, the DKE, which is what they do, but you sip whiskey and then you try to answer some questions, and if you get it wrong, you have to have like a punishment. Yeah. Before your next one.
Yeah, punishments including things like eating flaming hot Cheetos and sour apple pucker and things like that. So
things that mess up your palate. So when your next question, you're already behind.
Yeah, so it's going to make it even harder or make it even more difficult.
And then we did Family Feud.
Yeah, we did.
And then there was water balloons.
Yes, and there were water balloons, which was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Getting the opportunity to try several different barrels at Cat's Eye and help out with a pick was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it was really nice watching Gene talk about his products. Like to see the passion and the energy and the drive that he has in making and blending all this whiskey that he does. And like it's just different than, oh, here's this bottle. I got this bottle. It's really cool. Like this is an actual person that goes, yeah, this barrel sucks. I'm going to use this barrel for, we're going to blend it with this and we're going to blend it with this and we're going to make this. And like just to hear all that and just to see his energy and excitement around it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And he talked about a little bit of the behind the scenes about what they do with barrels that maybe aren't good enough to be able to be a single barrel. Like those certainly go into the blended products and things like that help make things that are more readily available. And by combining all of those things, it makes a product that, people can still enjoy and everything. But his passion definitely did come through and him being able to talk about his whiskey and try and herd the cats, as it were, when it came to trying to help draw out notes and help with the barrel pick. And
what don't you like?
Yeah. I thought it was fantastic. And I thought he did a very amicable job admirable job in terms of trying to help wrangle all of us.
And it was cats. It was wrangling cats.
Yeah, like herding cats. So, but he did a really good job of trying to do that. So I really appreciate him making the effort there.
Yeah, and you could just tell that he enjoys what he does and he wants to get his product out to people. It's not, I'm going to figure out a way to make myself rich.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the prices that he has on some of the things are very approachable.
Very reasonable.
Yes.
Yes, very, very reasonable pricing, things like that. The man really just likes to let people have an experience and sell whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's really what he's looking for, and to have a good time doing it. And it really showed with everybody at Cat's Eye, not only Gene, but Jason and the others who were there to help support the event. All of them just, really the way that they talked about the whiskey, the way that they, kind of helped facilitate everything for us was just awesome. It was a great experience. And we did come home with some Cat's Eye whiskey, which was nice too.
Because I was going to.
Well, of course we were. Like, that was a given.
It's just funny because the Cat's Eye, Obtainium was one of my first ones first bottle. I don't even remember when I tried it somewhere, but I tried it and I went, ooh, I like this. And that was another one that I started collecting on my own.
I had heard about Obtainium from several of the different YouTube channels. I think it was actually Destination Bourbon. I think it was Michael Klein.
I was going to say, is that Klein?
Yeah, I was talking about Obtainium and things like that. And the way that they were talking about it, I'm like, ooh, that sounds really cool. I got to try that. And then we were able to find a bottle when we were traveling because we don't see it here in Ohio, unfortunately. So, but we got a bottle of that, and I said, here, you need to try this. Like, and this is like...
tried it.
It's like candy, right?
And now I have so many bottles. It was like going to, like... Where is it? It's like a pilgrimage. When I walked in there, and I'm like, oh, I just wanted to hug the barrels. Yeah. Because, it's one of my Cat's Eye, NASA Family Reserve, the Magi, Obtainium, NASA Family Reserve, and the Magi are some of my favorites.
Yeah. And so getting an opportunity to go there to, effectively where that gets bottled and distributed from is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's pretty awesome. So we had a blast at the event.
Yep.
Then we drove home.
Yep.
And then the next week.
And then the next week after that was this past weekend, the Memorial Day weekend. And we said, something about when are we going to go camping next? Oh, that was it. You said, when are we going to go camping next? And I said, well, how about we go this weekend?
Which was the week before Memorial Day weekend. We were trying to find a camping place.
Right. So, trying to find an actual campsite that had availability. The week before Memorial Day weekend, tall order, but did make it happen and was able to find a camp spot. And that campsite was at East Harbor, which is out by Sandusky, here in Ohio, Catawba Island, that whole area. And so we went out and we went camping.
We did.
I'm looking for you to.
I'm trying. My brain just went, and.
My brain just went, and we went camping.
And scene.
And scene.
My brain's like, okay. Yeah, it was a different campground. We've never been there, like you just said. The campsites were rather small and rather on top of each other.
Yeah, I think in the past we've been more used to campsites that have a little bit more space. Not only a little bit more space to the campground itself, but like a little bit more spread out in between each one of the sites. So this was a smaller site that was much closer to your neighbors.
Very close to our neighbors.
Yes.
The area itself was gorgeous. Like we walked down the road and it's like the Sandusky Bay, Lake Erie, birds, like that whole area is gorgeous and there's tons to do. But the campground itself, because it was so tight, if you don't have the best neighbors, can make for a very long night.
It absolutely can. When you have neighbors who are up and really intoxicated and shouting things that I cannot say because YouTube will probably ban this video.
Yeah.
If I were to say them. So we're not going to.
And we were tent camping. It
And
would
we were
probably be
tent camping,
different
yeah.
if you were in an RV or a trailer of some sort. We were in a tent.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we were out in a tent. So, it was very easy to hear them as they were sitting around the fire.
Mm-hmm.
But they were up 2 hours past the normal quiet hours.
They were very loud.
They were very loud
2 hours.
2 hours after the quiet hours.
Yes.
And here's the thing. I'm not trying to be a stickler this way where it's like, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock. You need to shut up. I get it. You want to, have a few drinks, have a few laughs, have a good time. That's fine. Even if they would have gone till like, I don't know, 10:45, 11 o'clock, it's probably reasonable, right?
I think the loudness, the obnoxiousness, and the beyond inappropriateness of what they were practically screaming.
Yes. Coupled with them being literally
right, yeah.
15 feet away from us.
Yeah, I think that was the one. I'm like, I don't need to, I don't care about what people say or words. Like, things don't offend me.
Right.
But I'm like, I am trying to go to sleep. I don't really want to hear you guys talk about this ridiculous stuff.
Right. And
screaming. It wasn't even talking. It was yelling.
Yes.
It was drunken. It was drunken talking, which is very
which
loud.
is essentially yelling. So, so that part was a little difficult. But I will say this, like that actually made it a little bit more difficult. And then to compound on top of that experience, we did also have a storm that was going to be rolling in the next day. So originally we were planning on staying for 2 days. But with the less than good sleeping experience, and then also with a very severe storm rolling in, we decided to just enjoy our morning, kind of take it slow, have a little breakfast, go for a walk, and then pack up and come home and enjoy the rest of Memorial Day from home.
We did use the awning on the truck for the first time.
Yeah, so we did get an opportunity to use the awning off the truck for the first time, which was great.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, we just have to learn smoother ways to get it in and out.
We do need to get a little bit of practice on getting it set up and everything like that. However, overall, it was pretty easy. I think we had it set up within what?
We said 10 minutes tops.
I think 10 minutes. And that was our first go around getting it all set up. And it was a godsend because we had taken one of our awnings that we had up to Iowa to help out. And when we brought it back, it was packed up in 2 separate things. So there was the structure itself, and then there was the tarp that goes over the top. And when that got packed into the truck for us to travel, only the structure got put in and the tarp did not. So it wasn't going to do us any good or provide any coverage.
Yeah.
And so thankfully the truck awning worked out really well.
And it really was. It added a lot of shade. It extended long. I could see it if you get misty weather or whatnot, just providing that extra seating room underneath to still be outside and be dry. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other thing is if you are, potentially underneath that awning and you're camping out of your truck, if you're actually sleeping in your truck, or you just need to duck into your car via inclement weather, very easy to do that because you're already right there, and it's providing that coverage to get in and out of your car. So I understand why a lot of people really like those and try and take advantage of those in terms of that being the awning that they use when they go camping. The other nice thing was it's already on the car, right? So you don't really have to pack it up.
Yep.
It's already hooked on to the rails for the car. We'll have it with us whenever we go anywhere. So at any point in time, if we need an awning, we know that we can just pop that out and it can be set up in under 10 minutes. And honestly, as we get more practice with it, it'll probably be closer to 5.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also, you were saying about the storms earlier, it's a good thing we left because those storms that came through were very vicious.
Oh yeah, the area that we were staying at actually ended up with was it a tornado warning?
Yep.
Yeah.
On the radar they had a big purple spot over them, and I just know that is brighter that's more severe weather than a red spot. This is how I tell maps. There's a red spot. Yeah. That means it's going to be really bad. Yeah. If there's a purple spot,
it's really
that bad. Means watch out. You might have to go down to the basement.
Yeah.
For a tornado.
It's terrible. It's horrible.
It's purple.
Yeah. So overall, still got an opportunity to get out, enjoy a little bit of camping, get an opportunity to test out the new awning, get an opportunity to get a couple nice walks in up by the lake and things like that. So was good.
I agree. It was good. And that brings us to where we are now. And in
brings...
the meantime, we're still working full-time jobs in between that.
Yeah.
In between the past few weeks.
So,
we've been a little busy.
Still busy. Yeah.
We've been living in a spirited life.
Yes, we have. We've been doing a good job of doing the thing that we wanted to do, which is that we wanted to still find a way to find a balance and get out there and live while still investing and still saving for the future and still planning for the future. And I think this is a good example of making sure that we've taken the time to do that. We took the time to rest when we needed to rest. We needed to get healed up, when we were sick. We, got an opportunity to go out and have a great experience. And that was number 2 of 4 of the whiskey experiences, 1 per quarter for the year. We have 2 more left for the year, 1 in third quarter and 1 in fourth quarter. So
they're
so
only
far
going to get
so
bigger
good.
as we go.
Yeah. So far so good on that. And then an opportunity to get out and, get away from the homestead for a minute and just relax a little bit. Even if it wasn't as relaxing as maybe we wanted it to be, nonetheless, we were still able to enjoy a little bit of hammock time for you and a little bit of under the awning chair time for me and just kind of relax a little bit. So still finding those ways to live our life along the way.
Oh, did we talk about the auroras? We didn't even talk about the auroras. That's mine. I called it.
So every episode, we'd like to take a moment to talk about what filled our spirit. In this case, we're going to talk about what filled our spirit over the last couple weeks as opposed to just this last week. And so, Christine, what filled your spirit this week?
Seeing the aurora borealis from my backyard.
Yeah.
So
bucket list
ching. I was just going to say, so seeing the northern lights was always huge on my bucket list. That was like number 2 underneath seeing like the orcas in the wild. And we had that big solar flare, that solar storm came, and I just remember I was sitting in the hammock out back because I sit in the hammock a lot. And I just remember going, because I'm like, oh, everyone's talking about it, because we've seen it, you've seen it once or twice, but it's been like fleeting. And usually when it's really dark, you have to look over the lake, and it's just it doesn't last long. So I'm like, I don't know, everyone keeps talking about it. Like, this seems like a big deal this time around. So I was sitting in the hammock, and I'm like, okay, I got out there, sitting in the hammock, like, these clouds are just looking, it just doesn't look right. Like,
they just look weird.
There's something off. Like,
Yeah.
This is not the normal sky. And I remember coming in and getting you and coming out. I'm like, could you just look at this? Like, this doesn't look real. And it was like an hour or so before they said, like, the prime time was going to be.
Yeah.
I remember you came out and you're like, no, I think that's the aurora.
That's the aurora, yeah.
And it was hours long. And it was fascinating because obviously the camera, just on our cell phones, picked up more than what we could see with our naked eye.
Yeah.
But still being able to see things with the naked eye. And it wasn't just in one area. It was like, I look over here and like the sky is like maroon. Like I could see the maroonness where we read. And I look over here and it's like a different way. And I look over here and it's like green and it's like blue. And like, I just kept turning around and like, it was literally like completely all around us. And I was just blown away. And then I came out later that night, like I want to say like 2 or 3 hours after it originally started. And to be able to see with all the light pollution and where we are, and I could see the greenness. It wasn't like bright green, but I could see the movement in it. Was just, I was just blown away. It was amazing and incredible.
Yeah, it truly was amazing. And we may get the opportunity actually to see it yet again this weekend if we're lucky.
I saw that too.
So maybe if we're lucky, we'll get another opportunity to see that.
So what filled your spirit?
So because we're going back across a couple weeks, I'll say 2 things. So one was just the opportunity, at the end of the second evening when we were, at the whiskey meetup for the whiskeychannel.com, just sitting around the fire and getting an opportunity to spend a little bit of extra time with folks was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. And just, kind of the camaraderie that you build with folks. And it really is emblematic of the community. And it's nice to be able to spend a little bit of time, face to face together with folks, because we don't get to do that too terribly often. Again, we're going to do that relatively a lot this year in the 4 times, but But usually when we're seeing folks, when we're talking with folks, it's online.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to be able to get some FaceTime and be together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one thing. And then the other was over Memorial Day weekend, got an opportunity to go visit my family. Unfortunately, you weren't feeling good. You had a migraine.
Yep.
And so I let you rest.
Thank
and
you.
I just left you and and went over to the family's house. But that felt like the right thing to do. So because we cut our camping trip short, that actually made it easier for me to go over and spend time with them. Because originally we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do that, depending on when we were coming back and unpacking and everything like that. And so that was actually something that, while we had to cut the camping trip short, and that was a little disappointing, that did make going and spending a little bit of time with my family a little bit easier. So it was nice to get a chance to see them and catch up with them a little bit and just get to spend some time. It was really great.
Awesome. And that's everything we have to talk about this week. What is on deck for next?
So next week, we're going to talk a little bit about day hiking. And it's something that we're starting to explore a little bit, something we're starting to get into, and something that we're looking to do that helps us live a spirited life without necessarily needing to do a lot of prep work or a lot of involved planning. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in our next episode. And in the meantime, we hope you live a spirited life. The topics and information on A Spirited Life should not be taken as financial advice and should be considered for entertainment purposes only.